This is Painting on Glass, the Markus Zoselj podcast in English language. Listen to the stories and reflections of a singer-songwriter and author. Hold on, take me back. Hold on and take me back. It's like painting on glass. Leave a note on your door. Tell me what you're looking for. It's like painting on glass. Episode 21, Paradise. Leave another sign for me to find behind, so I might be able to find you. Show it with a trace of a smile and a love. This might be something to show me. Thank you for joining in again. It's so good to have your company. Today's episode is going to be a little different than the other ones before. This one is about a short story which I am going to read to you myself in the minutes to follow. I published it in a book with the title Cut Flowers, a collection of short stories. Well, this is an example of my writing. I hope you'll enjoy it. But now, let's go to the setting of the story. A beach bar at the shores of light, the Mediterranean, on the warm evening in summer. Paradise, a short story by Markus Zoselj. Before I begin describing the scenery of the bar, let us first remember that every one of us has such a beach place in mind. And though the names may differ and the country with its personal spot or location of such a well-remembered bar is surely not the same, there are always some things appearing equally in the mind when hearing the word beach bar. It may be the wind coming in from the sea on a pretty day of sunshine, or at night time when people dressed up to dwell among the soft winds of a Mediterranean or exotic paradise. Or even in a rough wind on a day out of season. It may be the chatter of all the sun-drenched people having a drink and a little smile who are joining the club of the careless at this very moment for a short period of time. These are possible connotations when hearing beach bar, but being inside this community may change. It may all of a sudden change with the coming of a slight shift of the mood of someone involved in something we don't know yet. That's the way we have to look at the following scene as we go all the way down to a simple but remarkable spot on the coast of the Mediterranean in the north of Greece on the island of Corfu. There was laughter and words. They were the soft music of the late afternoon which kept on flowing by the background all the while. It was the time on the beach when most of the people packed their bags together and left the beach to prepare for activities of the night. They have a shower and to rejoice after the hours of sunshine. Preparing to go out somewhere, you have some special dinner or to join a dance at some fancy place they heard of that very day or the day before. It was a time when the beach was given back to the sand, the wind, and the voices of the sea by all the visitors who had occupied it for most of the daytime. When the shapes of all the blankets were taken away and again disappeared for the late part of the day, filled in sunshine that wasn't as strong as the sunshine of the noon or the early afternoon. It all softened at this time of day, and the leaving people on the beach give way to the awareness of different moments at this place. The screaming voices of the little kids not wanting to leave the waterside, crying with their hands in someone else's hand, taking them away and promising to be back out here in the morning of the following day. Seldom do these promises work out well, and the crying lingered on for quite a while. It seemed to be the same every afternoon, with changing actors on the same stage that was a place to perform. The wine inside the glass seemed to reflect the fading sunlight in ruby-like color in front of all of his eyes. With every movement of his hand, there were tiny waves that designed the portrait of the man he saw in different ways at any moment. It was just like a liquid mirror, and it was his face that he saw. "Would you like to have some more house wine, sir?" "Yes, please." "Thank you." "You're welcome." And the waiter, a good-looking man with pitch-black hair in his 20s, went to the bar to get some more of the wine. "This wine is good." "We sell it only here, sir," he said, and smiled at me in a very satisfied way. House wine was a thing that was offered everywhere in Greece. It seemed to be a fingerprint for every bar or place you entered. But only a fool would think that way. The fingerprints on the side of the glass were obviously the only unique design to be left for a little while. The wine was good, but who really knew where it came from or what its origin was? The coast of this island shone bright because of all the rocks the shore consisted of. Only parts of the shore were sandy beaches that allowed a bar like this to be built upon. The water was crystal clear everywhere, no matter if sandy shore or rocky shore. And it really should feel like paradise. But it did not. "I won't be going with you if you don't change." Everybody changes after a while. You know what I mean. And Maud turned away from me in the way only she could after having a simple but urgent argument, which seemed to be important to her at that time. That was 3 weeks before we planned to leave for Greece. The problem was that I did not take it too seriously that day, but the importance to her seemed to be a very basic one on this issue. Everybody changes from time to time, but we have to look to each other in a case we want to stay together. Get that? Maud has always had a high amount of energy, and we had been together for 7 years. And this holiday was to be our 5th or 6th trip together. Everything seemed fine that far. We got along well all these years, but somehow, now and then, there seemed to be a hiding place in our minds for her or for me. I have to admit that we seemed to frequent such a place in our minds more often once it started. And she suggested to go to Crete, Corfu, that summer. And so we planned it. "I want to go to Paradise," she mentioned right after coming out of the travel agency and after she had seen the beaches and the sights that would be waiting for us there. "Paradise is where you are with me," I answered, and I remember the way she used to laugh at me then. "Paradise is what you make of it. Believe me," she told me, and then seemed very sure about that point of view, which remains her personal one, not mine. Looking at the years to come, our apartment should be decorated and furnitured in a very special way. Our holiday trips had to be trips to paradise, as mentioned before, and being married was just waiting around the corner for both of us. That was the plan. I took all the gifts offered and wowed all the pledges needed, and designed our life the way that seemed proper and strong to build a marriage upon. And it all came down like rain as she told me she would leave with an old friend or colleague that would work in her library and seemed to change much faster than I used to, or she thought I would. "I'm not coming with you," she said as she was closing the door of our apartment. "And I won't cancel that trip to Greece, I tell you." And for a moment the door opened up once again, and she said in an ironic and sarcastic way, "You know, paradise is what you make out of it. Bye." And then she slammed the door. A long time after her footsteps had left the building and the last door out of the hall was shut, I stood like frozen for a little while, even without being able to talk to myself. After having another sip of the wine that seemed to calm all this memory a bit, I had to smile and look at the beach from my table. I saw people walking around, still looking for seashells in the last light of the day. I saw a young couple sitting in the sand together and smooching. I was glad for them and wished them all the luck in the world. And I heard music coming from a restaurant that was to be found at the long promenade a few steps away from this place. It sounded like dance that night. I paid for the wine and left the rest of it inside the glass to reflect the last of a day's sunlight. And I got up to go for the music and away from solitude. And while walking up towards the promenade, I had to smile, and I remembered her words, being glad to have come here alone. "No, Maud, you were wrong. You'll never find paradise if it's not deep inside your mind." Paradise by Markus Zuzel, taken from the short stories Cut Flowers, read by the author. It's all you need to do when painting on yours. Lay down what you hope to find, all the things you left behind. That's painting on yours. Watch out for this, and let me thank you for listening and your personal interest. You will find all of my music on major streaming and download platforms on the internet, and all of my books on Amazon.com. Look out for them under my name, and you will find all of them. We'll meet here in a few episodes to come, if you want to. Oh, that's great. That's wonderful.